So, to simplify it all, if we narrow it down, how can you fill the requirements set by Skolverket? A correctly written book analysis will give you the possibility to show that you can evaluate, meaning explaining, commenting, assessing, and investigating. You can respond. That is that you can argue from different perspectives. You can compare, apply, reason, negotiate, give reasons for your views. And this is important, the structure. This is what many of you feel is a little bit challenging. That is why we will help you with that. And the language. Now it is actually important that you know formal English, so take time to check that film as well. I promise you, it is not as bad as it looks. How are you going to get started? I have asked you many times to think of a thesis statement before you start reading, because this will enable you to find suitable quotes that gives you the to support it when it's time for you to write your literary analysis. How can you do this when you have not even opened your book yet? Well, I always hand out the following websites where you can find information, perhaps not of all books, but the classical books anyway, and the modern books, the most popular books. And then they have already been analysed. No, you're not going to pick it or copy it or anything, but you can see the general thoughts about the book, what it's all about. Perhaps it's something that you haven't thought about, and that could give you a hint, because a thesis can be altered during the process, but you should have something in mind when you start writing it later on. So it's good to have it in mind as you're reading. So when you're analysing literature, try to follow the following. Try following these steps. It's up to you, you see, how you choose to interpret a book. It's all a matter of interpretation, so you and I can be totally in contradiction of what we think the message is or something. It doesn't matter as long as you can support your opinion and your interpretation with good quotes. And not just me, any one of your teachers, even at the university. So identify first of all the author's purpose as you interpret it. Ask yourself, what is the main theme? What is the idea here? What does this author want me to understand or me to learn as I read this book? If you think about the characters, how do they help the author to reach the purpose, to understand the theme? Is there a specific tone or imagery? Is it a specific plot? Why does the author choose these devices in these particular ways? How does this character support things that are happening in this plot, for instance? Or the relationship in between certain characters? Is there one character that makes other people react in a certain way? What is really happening? But remember, you should tell your reader how and why. So you should not summarize the plot. Whatever you do, don't summarize the plot. Instead, you should discuss your ideas on the basis of suitable quotes. It's better to use less examples, but expand your own ideas more, drawing more analysis out of each example to strengthen your argument, instead of getting stuck within the text and the plot and just repeating it, because that is not analyzing. That is more of a review. So please, why do you think this one supports your thesis? Let's look at the structure then of how it should be, what it should look like. Here, as well as in a book review, you never ever have subtitles because they are so short, these essays. But they are academic, so you should remember to divide your essay into paragraphs and use linking words to help the reader to follow along. You should have a title and paragraphs, no subtitles. In the introduction, first of all, you tell the reader shortly of the novel to catch the reader's interest. You state the name, the author, just as usual. And then a brief summary of the plot, even if it's a really long book, 2 to 3 sentences, just to give the reader a picture of the context. And at the end of this first paragraph, at the end, you place your thesis statement. And this is something that you will return to in all these paragraphs at the end, and in the 5th paragraph you summarize it all. It could sound, because you're going to state the topic and the direction, so that your reader will be able to follow along in your essay. What will you focus on? That way I can follow along and find your arguments. Aha, that's connected to the thesis. I see it clearly. It must be clear. What you could do is a thorough analysis of the name of the book, the title demonstrates that, or you can say it in some other way, but that is one way of doing it. In the 2nd paragraph, you present the first argument with supporting evidence. That is a quote from the text that you discuss. It's the same in the 3rd, another argument relating to the statement that you presented in the 1st paragraph. The same in the 4th paragraph. It's good to have 3 different arguments. In the last paragraph, you conclude by summarizing your arguments and proving how they support your thesis. And finally, you add some personal comments if you have any. This is the only place where you have the right to add any personal comments and say, I think, I should, this is like this and that. And this is something that all of you need to think about as you write analysis, because you're not allowed to have any personal opinions presented like I think, I want, this is, I'll show you why later on. It should be impersonal. But we'll soon see. The next film will show you how to do it, how to analyze with quotes. So please check the next film as well.